Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Paranormal Addicts Podcast. As usual, I'm the host that talks to ghosts, Kent Wilson. Tonight, we have a guest whose work brings together paranormal investigating, history, education, and preservation. He's an investigator, public speaker, whose work includes Northwest Indiana Paranormal, the Griffith High School Paranormal Society, and History Alive or Paraflex. He is currently involved in an upcoming true crime paranormal documentary with Tommy Tombstone and Crossroads of Curiosity. With another new series preparing to begin filming it this November, please help me welcome Pete. All right, so we'll start out like we always do. First of all, I want to apologize to the people I kept rating. We had a slight StreamYard error as usual. It put Pete in a waiting room that wasn't my room, so I had to reset. So now, anyway, we are here and we are live. So Pete, introduce yourself to everybody out there that don't know you, and we will get started.
First of all, Kent, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really excited about this. Like you said, my name's Pete Ghrist. My day job, I'm a police officer. That led me to being a school resource officer, which is where I started one of my groups, the Griffith High School Paranormal Society, back in 2013. It's actually a group of, last year we had 87 students in it. That's been, like I said, going since 2013. We've gone on, as of this year, we're about to start our 197th investigation/field trip. And that's not even counting the community service events that we've done. So I also run Northwest Indiana Paranormal. That started in 2018. And then, like you said, I was on History Alive for Paraflix that was created by Darren Zankin in DMZ Productions. So we're hoping to see some more of that. And then we're working on a true crime paranormal documentary right now with Tommy Tombstone in Crossroads of Curiosities, which is Angela Wingard and Ben Goldman and Tara Gustafson and Aiden Guzak. So lots of stuff going on, including hopefully another series down the line that we're going to start filming and pitching to networks hopefully at the beginning of the year.
Where apparently Jeannie Pinner says they love you, so you're loved.
Awesome, thank you, Jenny.
So yeah, that's all really interesting, and I want to talk a little bit about the Skir thing in a minute. But I think it's interesting. You said you're getting ready to start filming a new project and pitching it. I'm actually in the process of doing the same thing. I'm actually working on, and I haven't shared this with too many people. This may be the first time I've actually even shared it on my own show, but I'm working on I call it pursuit of the paranormal, and the concept is me and Kenneth Drake, the Hollywood medium, and we investigate the same location in two different styles, obviously, same location, and see what we come up with. And so far I've pitched it to a couple places, Scare Network, Paraflex. I'm considering pitching it to Beacon. I kind of would rather stay with those two, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's an interesting concept. I don't think anything like that's ever actually been done before, so I'm excited about that. And but I think the school is interesting because we actually I graduated from Heath High School. I'm so old, my high school no longer even exists anymore. It's actually part of McCracken County Consolidated Schools. But McCracken County actually has a paranormal club, and we're starting to try to get involved in that. So I may pick your brain off camera sometime and help me discuss where I should take that because that's the interesting growth in this area for us, because a decade ago, especially 2 decades ago, you said you were a paranormal investigator. You were told you was going to hell, and now we're in the school, so we want to do it right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we've actually helped start, I believe it's now 6 other clubs all around the country, just based on our club. So people heard about our club. We've been in national news articles, Windy City Live, in Chicago, Channel 7, things like that. And, obviously appearing on podcasts like this and being out at conventions. And other people heard about us. The latest one was in Derry, New Hampshire, that actually got a hold of us all the way back outside in Chicagoland. And I sent them, what we have, our waivers that we use and our rule sheets and our process and everything, so that they could get another club started of their own back in New Hampshire.
That's cool. That's cool. So, I actually lived in Indiana for a while on the opposite side, on the southern side. One of the paranormal investigations that has stuck with me for the 30 years I've been doing this was in Indiana. So I love Indiana. I no longer love Indiana women, but that's a whole different story. And we don't know, we don't need to bring ex-wives into all this. Let's start before we get into like all the detail stuff. Let's start with what I consider fun. Some people don't consider fun. We have an official speed round with on Paranormal Addicts. It's the same 12 questions every time. Some are fun, some are serious. Some may pertain to you, some don't. Just give me the first answer that comes to your mind, okay?
I'll do my best.
Okay, here we go. What's your go-to investigation snack?
Oh boy, probably Snickers.
I prefer Reese's, but I respect Snickers. Haunted dolls, fact or fiction?
Fact.
Favorite paranormal show?
It's a good one. Probably Paranormal State was my favorite when it was on.
Coffee or energy drink?
Coffee. Black.
Black. That's the only way to do it. If you could, I think that's the police officer in you, because I drink black coffee because that's what my granddad drank, and he was a police officer. So, if you could investigate with anyone, living or deceased, who would it be?
Oh boy, man, that's a good question. But Hans Holzer comes to mind. That'd be a really good one. But a lot of the new people that are out there now, but Hans Holzer is like the first one that pops into my head, because they didn't really have any of the gadgets or anything back then. They were just investigating, with their brain and with a medium. So
yeah, Hans and the Warrens, that they were the forefathers. No matter what your opinions on them are today, they were the forefathers, so they deserve
more good choices.
Ouija board, game, tool, or portal?
I think it's real. I don't mess with Ouija boards. And our student group, we don't utilize those obviously with the student group, but I don't stop people from my adult group, the Northwest Indiana Paranormal. I don't stop them from using it. Me personally, I totally think they're real. It's just not anything that I like to utilize myself.
Bucket list location.
Best what?
Your bucket list location.
Oh, bucket list? Probably Transylvania. Probably Dracula's castle. See him right in the background here, Dracula.
Let's see. Demons, fact or fiction?
For everything that's good, there's got to be an evil, right? But you'll never see me like running around inside of a place, yelling about demons though and things like that. I think there's definitely evil entities and stuff, and there's demons. If there's angels, there's demons. So, but it's not anything that I'm gonna blame on demons every single time we're out somewhere.
Yeah, not everywhere you go, for sure. Your playlist heading to the investigation.
Playlist. Believe it or not, I'm an old soul. So like I actually, when I'm driving a long distance, I listen to 1940s and 1950s on Sirius Satellite XM. So 40s is that's probably my favorite, but I like 50s doo-wop music, things like that.
For me, it depends on if I'm doing a pay to investigate or if I'm doing a residential. Because if I'm doing a residential, I'm trying to get in the mindset of helping people.
Sure.
So if I'm going to a pay to investigate location, I'm old, so I'm going 80s, 80s hair bands, Beastie Boys, and then if I'm doing a residential, my go-to is DC Talk, Toby Mac.
Cool.
So yeah, and then last question: protection or no protection?
I mean, I think it's definitely, important to have, those type of safeguards in place. Is specifically on some of the places that you go to. It's just a definite, and then when you leave, a lot of times, you want to make sure that you're leaving everything there and not taking it with you. So definitely important to have some sort of protection when it comes down to that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, and I like the fact that you said, we don't really know what we're dealing with, So, I used to have a team member. She's no longer on my team. She always wanted to bring something home. I'm like, we're not bringing anything home. She's like, it's just a kid. I'm like, it tells you it's just a kid, but we don't really know. So
It's
yeah,
true.
I think
Very true.
So I think, and I have a theory. I'm not going to say there's no kid spirits out there, but Christianity is part of my. I don't separate it from investigating. Some people say it belongs, some people don't. Some people say anyway. For me, it belongs, and so my belief is I actually have 2 degrees of theology. So my belief is kids go to heaven until they reach the age of accountability. So if you take that into your thought process, why would there be kid spirits? Now, with that being said, I have an answer to my own question, Pete, and that is, as adults, I understand the concept of crossing over, whether we believe it or not. We understand the concept. We've seen it in our movies. We've heard it, so we have the concept. Kids don't necessarily get that because we expect them to outlive us. So when we do have an actual kid spirit, to me, that's why we have it.
Yeah. Well, it definitely, that's a deep subject. And you ask 10 people, they're all going to have different opinions on that. I mean, I've heard people say that, when somebody passes away, they resort back to the happiest time in their life. If they're an elderly person, they might go back to when they were 25, 30 years old, something like that. If you've seen like some of the movies where there's like a nexus that people go to and they go back to a place and they don't want to leave there, because of the fact that it's the happiest point in their life. And they're all possible. But nobody's going to know until we actually die,
Yeah.
So, but, I always respect everybody's beliefs when it comes down to, what everybody believes on that type of particular subject. But I'd like to think, my mom passed away about 25 years ago. And, I'd like to think that she's, pain-free driving in her convertible when she was in her 20s, down, on the beach somewhere, with the sun, with everybody else that's gone before us. So, those type of things is the way that I like to think about, people that have passed on.
Yeah, I lost my mom when she was only 49, and I actually gave the eulogy to her funeral. And it was kind of what I was given was she suffered a lot, and she was finally happy, finally healthy, so it was time for it to be over with. So,
Mhm.
and yeah, like you said, we're not going to know until it's our time to know. And I'm like you, I respect all views too. Like even on my team, we have all different views, and we have to learn from each other. You know what I'm saying? If we don't, because we don't know, so we have to respect. We have to respect all that.
Yes, sir.
I lost my place because so far I've asked absolutely nothing off my outline. We've just been freeing it, which is okay too.
Yeah, it's a good conversation.
It is, and my best episodes have always been just that. Just talking. My favorite episode will always be, no matter what. And I'm not even going to say it was really that great of an episode, but it will always be my favorite. And once I explain it, everybody will understand. It will always be episode 1 of season 2, because my guest was Dan Riviera months before he passed away. So that will always be and I consider Dan a good friend. I had never met him personally. I had talked to him on the phone every week, but as far as actually meeting him, that chance was supposed to have came at Rock Island last year, and so it was an emotional experience for me. The episode is, and what's funny is the last time I talked to him on the phone, I was actually grocery shopping with my wife, and it's me and Dan was on the phone for an hour and a half while my wife was trying to get me to go grocery shopping, and we were talking about everything besides paranormal. We was actually talking about classic horrors more than we was anything about ghosts. So so that will always stick with me.
I was actually just at the Warren House a couple months ago, and they have a very, very nice tribute to him on the wall right before you walk into where Annabelle is kept. When you approach there, they have the crucifixes on the walls, and then they have some rosaries that you could wear, and then they have like a tribute to him on the wall right before you go inside. So I thought that was very nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He touched a lot of people, and so one thing, and so this, out of all the locations you've investigated, what experience still sticks with you the most?
Oh boy. You mean like what would be like the most haunted place that I've ever been to, you think?
Sure.
There's certain towns that I think are like the whole town is almost haunted, and then there will be like a couple different places. Those places would be like Hartford City, Indiana. There's they have the Monroe House there, Old Blackford County Jail. There's a speakeasy there, but it's just there's something about that town when you're walking around. It just really feels like the whole place is heavy. Another location like that would be like Fowler, Indiana, where they have the Fowler Theater, and then they used to have the old Benton County Jail that unfortunately was just torn down last year on what was going to be its 150th birthday. So it was terrible when they tore that down. It's one of my favorite places to go. I would definitely say if I had to pick somewhere that I thought was like where we had the most things happen, I'd probably the Monroe House in Hartford City. I would definitely say that, or the former Old Benton County Jail, or Old Lake County Jail in Crown Point, where John Dillinger escaped from. That one, I've taken my kids there, not my personal kids, but my students. We've gone there 29 times since 2013 to investigate. And I would say probably out of that 27 times, the activity was off the chain while we were there. Kids always have a great time. We always get a lot of really cool pictures. We've had shadow figures there. We've had people get their hair pulled. Obviously, like little scratches, things like that. But what I love about it is the history. That's involved with that place, and the people that run that, including Sandy Boyd. She's the president of the Sheriff's House Foundation there. She just does a really, really good job, and her staff there do Jackie and Earl and Denise. They do such a great job there doing restoration and making sure that they keep the place open to the public. And they've fought for it when people were trying to tear it down. And there needs to be more of that.
Yeah, yeah, because once the history's going, it's going. And I like the fact that you mentioned the row house. I actually did the Monroe House for my birthday investigation in 2024. Yeah, I always do a big birthday investigation. And with my birthday investigation, it's not necessarily my team. It's just my friends, if that makes sense. And like next year, because my birthday's in January, so we're going to Randolph County.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Have you ever been there before?
I have not.
The basement is amazing. They actually have, it looks like catacombs when you go down there, and you've got your arms like this, and you're going, and it seems like it's going forever for a minute, and then you'll reach the end and you turn. And that was where they used to have solitary confinement cells in the basement. So there's actually a little hole. I mean, it's maybe not even like, it's barely enough to squeeze through. And I crawled in there through the hole, and there's a little hole in the top, and I guess they used to pour things down on the people that were in the solitary confinement cells down there. But they used to execute people there. There's a noose upstairs where they used to with a trap door, and they would actually drop people down into the stairwell, and that's where they went. So they didn't build like any scaffold or anything like that. It was literally they would drop them out of the attic, and they would fall into the stairwell. So it's Jenny's on there saying Monroe House is awesome. That's actually where I met her, and she's part of a group called Ghouls Night Out. And
I follow them, and they follow me. My team is Canton Paranormal. Yeah, so we follow each other. So yeah, I'm familiar with the group anyway.
They are just a fantastic group of people. And the longer you do this, you, like what you were just saying with your group, you start to meet all these other groups, and then you start, coming up with like where you guys combine together, and you learn so much because this group does things one way, we'll learn a new technique or whatever. And Ghouls Night Out is just a lot of really good people. We spend a lot of time with Silent Veil Paranormal. They're a newer team, but just really, really good people that and then Spectral Recon Paranormal is another one of the groups that we hang out with a lot. We actually went with them to Waverly Sanatorium earlier this year, and
that's my home. That's my home location. I've been there 13 times.
And they're the people that set up for us to go to the Warren House, which is just absolutely unbelievable. If you ever have an opportunity to go there, just being in there, you're literally sitting in their living room. You're eating in their breakfast nook. On the kitchen refrigerator, she has her pumpkin pie recipe is still up there. That's with cool. A magnet on it. And I actually slept in Ed and Lorraine's bedroom. And you're sitting there thinking, this is where they came back and talked, while they were probably trying to sleep. They were talking about, the case that they just came from, things that were later turned into The Conjuring and, Amityville Horror and things like that. So they actually came right back to that room, and you shower in their shower and use their bathroom, to get ready. Their cups are in the cabinets. You go downstairs where they went over their cases down in the basement. And we got a couple EVPs there, very physical, got like flicked on the side of the head. And then you could hear like a little bit. It's not anything that's like, oh, this place is just evil. You know what I mean? It's definitely, active in there, very, very active, but it's not, when you're in there, you don't feel like unsafe. They take the good steps to protect you, when you go into the occult museum and things like that. And they give you plenty of time in there, and then just being in the house for the rest of the night and using, some of their equipment, things like that. It's definitely something that I would love to do again.
Yeah, I know some people like to, whatever, judge them or whatever now. But I actually, so when I got started investigating, I claimed 92 because that's when I turned 18 and that's when I could do it on my own. But I actually went on my first investigation in 86. I was 12 years old. And like I mentioned earlier, it might have been off camera when I mentioned it, but anyway, like I mentioned earlier, I'm from Western Kentucky, and I tell people I'm not even from the Bible Belt. I am from the capital of the Bible Belt. I think we have more churches per capita than we have people. So I didn't exactly have anybody to help guide me, and we didn't have ghost adventures, ghost hunters, ghost brothers, ghost dogs, ghosts. We didn't have all that. We had one Friday a month on Unsolved Mysteries. Robert Stack would do Mysteries of the Unexplained. We had that. And then we had the library. And in those days, most of the books in the library were co-authored because, a ghostwriter actually wrote the book, but they were Ed Lorraine stories, So I actually developed a pen pal program with Ed. He actually became my pen pal.
Wow. That's awesome.
He answered my letters. I have one behind me. You can't see it because of my banner, but I actually have one hanging behind me on my wall. It was the last one he ever wrote me. And
That's amazing.
He basically told me to just keep doing what I'm doing, ask questions, and if I need any help, he gave me his phone number. And so that means a lot to a 12, 15-year-old kid. I don't care, And so I would love to get there someday. And then of course being close to Wayne and Dan before his passing and all of them, it's definitely a place I'd like to get to. And going back to the Moreau house, like I said, I'm actually going back there next month.
Okay.
But I did it for my birthday in 24, and so my birthday is January 19th for the people who's wondering. And so when we went up there, January 18th is when we did the investigation because that's a Saturday. So when it turned midnight, it actually became my birthday. I did a solo session in the basement.
Did you do it up in the crawl space where
Yes.
they found the body?
Yes. And I didn't get any, like you mentioned earlier, I think it's important for people to realize I didn't get anything that makes you scared, but I got probably the best back and forth EVP I've ever got in 35 years of investigating. And it was interesting because I was using multiple pieces of equipment because I don't trust just one piece of equipment. I want multiple pieces agreeing. So you can watch the video on the YouTube page if you want to watch the video. But I'm going to summarize it because I'm not doing an hour-long investigation on my podcast. But so I got down there and we had the video camera set up, voice recorder. I was personally using the Paratech VM5 and the Apple Box is what I was personally using. And so after I got my team out there and it's just me, I asked if they passed there, just passed there, and I got yes on the Apple Box. For the people out there, the Apple Box is a very good piece of equipment, and you can turn the voice off or on. But if you have the voice on, please remember it, because hearing Dave Schroeder's voice at 2:00 in the morning and forgetting about it, it's kind of freaky. So, but anyway, so I got yes. So I was like, okay, and so I was like, did you die in the house? Because as you know, they don't really know if it's the property of the house. So I asked if they died in the house. And it said yes. So I was like, okay. I was like, let's talk about how you died. I was like, were you physically killed? Were you strangled, beat to death? And the response was no. So then I was like, okay, were you killed with a weapon? Were you shot, stabbed? And the answer again was no. So at this point, I'm a little confused. I'm like, you said you died in the house, but you wasn't physically killed, or you wasn't killed by a weapon. Yes. I was like, okay, let's switch then. I was like, can you tell me how you passed? And then on the Paratech, it said fire.
Oh, wow. And they had a fire up in there.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you can see the charred, in that closet that's upstairs at the top of the stairs. You can actually see the charred wood in there when there was a fire. I've been there 7 times. It's like I've never gone there and had nothing happen. Like it's always been busy. But we used to use baby monitors all the time back before we had cameras, and we would put baby monitors in 3 of the rooms. We had one thrown off of a table. It was laying on the ground with the batteries next to it. We heard it, and then we went over there, and it was laying on the floor. The other one we put up in a room, and it's actually, they were using a Ouija board upstairs, and we came downstairs, and we're taking a break, and all of a sudden a voice came through there, and said, "Let me out," through the thing, and it was like a raspy voice. And we went and looked at which one was that. Okay, it was the one up in the room where they have all the Ouija boards and stuff up there, and it was because somebody was using one upstairs and they didn't close out the session.
Right.
And they kind of just left the phone off the hook upstairs. And so I'll walk in and they'll be using it, and I'm like, hey, that's all you. I'll be in the other room. I'm not afraid of it. I just,
use it properly.
Yeah, it's just there's too many other things that I could use rather than getting involved in that.
So
it looks like Penny's got something.
Jen asks, she says, since you're from Kentucky, talking to me, obviously, have you ever been to Octagon Hall? Some of her friends were in it. If you have, what did you think? Yes, I've actually been to Octagon Hall multiple times. It's one of my favorite places. I have not been back since Bear passed away. He was a good guy. And what was unique is the last time I went was right before he passed. For the people who don't know, Bear would always meet you when you came for an investigation. Well, that day he had a doctor's appointment, so he couldn't meet us. Well, he came by later, like 2 or 3 hours into the investigation. And for some reason, I decided not to continue the investigation. I let my team continue, but I actually left the investigation and just came and hung out with him on the porch. And I'm so glad I did. But as far as what I thought about the Octagon Hall, I would tell, if you go to a TikTok page, you can watch this video, or you can watch the actual 18 seconds of this that I'm getting ready to talk about, or you can go to our YouTube page and watch the full investigation video. But the last time I was there, we were down in the basement, which was the slaves' quarters, and we were down there, and we were in what they turned into the family library, with all the history. And we was in there doing an EPP session. Something told me to look up, and when I looked up in the hallway, there was an apparition that looked like maybe an 8-year-old girl pacing in front of the steps. Most apparitions are there and then they're gone. This one was pacing. Well, I actually started recording, and I recorded her for like 12 seconds after this apparition pacing back and forth. And so after she finally disappeared, I went to we're going to disprove this. So I started seeing if I could reenact it, whatever, and I couldn't. So I actually still hang on to that as one of my best pieces of. It's definitely the best video evidence I've ever captured, but it's actually one of my best pieces of evidence ever. And
very cool. I've always wanted to go there.
Let's go next year. We'll plan a thing.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I'm actually knocking out 3 out of my 4 bucket list locations before February. And I'm going to the Hinsdale House in November. And then I'm going to Randolph in January. And then in February, I'm going to the Crescent Hotel.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
And then that only leaves Penhurst.
Oh, Penhurst. Yeah. That's on our list for next year too, with Trans-Allegheny. We're going to start doing like these things. Came up with this idea where we're going to start doing like 5 asylums in like 1 week time, and it's just you don't have to do all of them, but you could do some of them or whatever the case may be. But I'll be doing all of them. So you're going to have one hell of a paranormal hangover at the end of that. But sometimes it's easier while you're out there just to do a whole bunch of them, so that way you don't have to come back. But that would be really cool to do, go down to Kentucky and do Octagon, because
apparently Jen's coming with us now too.
Oh, cool. Jenny would go. Yeah,
so we'll make that happen. Let's look at probably April, because March weather in Kentucky is still kind of iffy. So let's think about April.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good. There's 3 people from History Alive, or they live down there. Lee Jacobs and Jamie Stedham and Jeffrey Bordell. They're all 3 there. So I've always, like, whenever I go down there, I always want to, make a point to, go and see them. So with that, Kara and Amelia they live in the Chicago area. And then I live right outside of Chicago. And then the production company's out of Crown Point that created History Alive. So you have all these people that are down in Kentucky, and then you have these people that are up here in Chicagoland. And so when we investigated several different places, one of them was in Jonesville, that's down in Kentucky down there. The Rest Home. Yeah, amazing place.
I was scheduled to go there last week, but they're selling it, so they're shutting down.
Yeah, they're selling it, and that's too bad. They're it was a very, very cool place. The owners are very, very nice. We really enjoyed being there.
Yeah, the original plan was for them. They were going to come down. We were going to investigate it, and then the next weekend they were going to attend by I call it a paranormal expo, but by Paracon. They were going to attend by Paracon as a location, because I allow locations and teams to attend my Paracon for free.
Oh, okay, cool.
And
that's very nice.
Yeah, and this year my headliners are Aaron G. Thompson, Outlaw Paranormal, and the Winter Bros.
So, okay, very cool.
And then next year, I guess, according to some people, I'm upgrading. I got Daryl Munson and the people, and Eric Vanderlyn coming down. So
yeah, they were on the Ghost Hunters, right?
Yeah, he was the co-lead investigator
in the new version.
Yeah, he's the one who replaced Grant. Grant left, and of course when Grant left, that's kind of when I stopped watching, if we want to be serious about it. And but anyway, what's the strongest piece of evidence you have personally captured or witnessed that you cannot completely explain?
Oh, you know what? When I was talking about like the student group, we get a lot of great evidence with our adult group, but I will tell you what, I think that like when you're bringing younger people on these things, they're almost like a little bit more connected, is what it seems. So a lot of our really wow evidence that we've got has been actually collected by the student group, and one of them was at this place called the Little Red Schoolhouse. It's in Hammond, Indiana, and it's right outside of Chicago. And it was an 1869 school that was actually down the street, and somebody was living in it up to a point. But it then was a funeral home at one point after it was a school and everything. They moved it down the street. All the residents got together money. They moved it down, put it on a basement. The basement's like a museum, and then they have it upstairs. They actually have some of the original desks actually inside of the building from 1869, which is really cool. And so there we did an EVP session, which is actually, that's my favorite way to investigate, because I feel like it's something that is really hard to fake unless you're doing it by yourself. You know what I mean? It's really hard to claim that something came if you don't have witnesses with it. But sometimes people ask questions. A lot of times I just have everybody sit in a circle. We turn on the recorder and we just all shut up, and we just sit there and we just say, it's your time to talk. Anybody who's in here, it's your time to talk. Tell us what's on your mind. Tell us what you're thinking about. Okay. We're going to be quiet for 10 minutes and we're just going to sit here, but we want you to have a voice. And we went and we played that back, and not anybody said anything. But then when we played it back, I was looking at it and I saw the movement on the when I went to go play it back. And I was like, oh, we got something. And there's a Class A EVP. It's on my every single part of my social media. It's on TikTok as well. It actually says "Help me," and you don't have to stress to hear it. You don't have nothing. It's the best EVP I've ever heard. It's so clear. You know how sometimes people have to like hold it up next to their ear. They have to sit there and like, oh no, that's not what that said. No, you just wanted to say that. No, it's. I'll play it for people and just say, what are you hearing? And they always say, "Help me." So it's a very, very cool thing because I like, you know, people who are just getting into it. I'll say, "Do you want to hear a ghost voice?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, I want to hear." Like, here, I'll play you a ghost voice. This is a ghost talking, and you can just see people like really, really, you know, it really lights up when they read it or when they hear it because it's like, wow, that's real evidence right there. There's really no way that you could fake that. So, you know, unless you're, you know, trying to put stuff out there, but we're completely not for profit. So it's not like I don't even do monetization or anything like that. So it's not like we're trying to get information out there to get clicks or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. I'm the same way. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm in this to help people. Yes, I do the pay to investigate stuff, but I tell my team that's training. That way we're ready when some family calls us. So yeah, we don't do this for money. We don't charge. Yeah. So yeah, I completely get. Yeah. And Jen said that she says younger people are also more fearful too, which she thinks brings more activity.
Yeah, definitely. I really think that if it, you know, like the whole thing with Project Fear, you know, where they say that, you know, I believe that completely. I think that if somebody is like actually really scared, that's one thing that we try to do. Like if we're not getting any activity, things like that, I'll have everybody go to a room by themselves on the far edges of the place, and I'll just be like, just sit there for like 10 minutes, just sit in there in the dark, and you know, sure enough, we usually start getting stuff eventually because that fear is going out. You know, if you have 10 people at a thing and they're all sitting in the same room, nobody's really going to be scared. You know what I mean? So you want, if you've noticed, I'm sure you've noticed this, you know, really good, like good investigation, it snowballs. It starts off with a little bit, and then it just starts getting more and more and more and more to the point where people are like, wow, this was so cool. And you're leaving there and all you can do is talk about what happened because that sometimes that fear and that energy is just keeps on feeding it. Likewise, you know, some of the bigger places that I've been to, like the places that are what I think are kind of over investigated, you know, you go there thinking you're going to see all sorts of stuff and nothing happens. And it doesn't mean the place isn't haunted. I just think that it means that, you know, any spirit that is in there, every single night there's somebody coming in and trying to get them to speak to them. And maybe they're just out of energy. You know what I mean? Maybe they just don't have the energy to manifest and to talk or to show themselves.
Oh, they don't want to talk to you.
So me personally, I like the places that are off the beaten path, you know, that are like, you know, I remember we were at Mansfield. We were at the Ohio State Reformatory, which I don't know if you've ever been there.
It's on my next year list.
Absolutely amazing place, and plus it was where the Shawshank Redemption was filmed, so you can go anywhere with that. We had team members that saw doppelgangers in there, you know, all sorts of stuff. But like when you go to these places, it's like you're thinking that yeah, we're gonna have all sorts of stuff happen. But if it's like if it's you just went there after four teams were just in there, you know, maybe it's not going to have as much activity as you think that you're going to have. You know what I mean?
I got a perfect example for that, Pete. Waverly Hills. I mean, there's no way you can say Waverly Hills is not active.
Right.
You know, but like I said, I've been there over a dozen times. Okay. I'm from, my hometown is Paducah, which is 3 hours from Louisville. So, you know, that's kind of like, that's, if you don't count the Metropolitan Hotel, that's the closest haunted location to me that you can go. And so when I first started going was back in the late 1990s. And the first time I went there, it was so active you didn't even, like you were talking about, just sitting and then the spirit speak to you. You could just sit there and watch them walk.
Yeah, I believe it.
And then the last time I went there, the guy, my friend that was with me, because of course Waverly's expensive, so it was a collaboration. Eric, the leader of the other team that was with me, Eric's like, I'm disappointed. So that just shows you, because there's nobody in the right mind that can say Waverly's not
right.
Yeah, but yeah, and sometimes what people have to realize, sometimes the spirits just don't feel like talking.
Yeah.
They're not trained monkeys.
Right.
And
yeah,
so,
I hate it when people, they'll go and check someplace out and then they'll bash it afterward and be like, well, nothing happened for me, so this place isn't haunted. It's all a hoax. And it's like they think that they're just the end all investigator to everything. Like, just because the spirits didn't want to interact with them, then it must mean that the place is just some sort of a hoax or a fraud or something like that. It's not going to do the same thing. I mean, we've done things where we went to Stone Mansion in Winchester, right over by Randolph, and we did 2 nights in a row. But there was just 2 of us that were doing the same thing, doing both nights. But we had 2 different groups that came in on those things. One night, super active. The next night, nothing. And it's just, maybe it was the people that were there the other night.
Right.
Maybe they just didn't want to interact with the people that were there the second night. That kind of stuff. So, even like the first night when people left, there was like 3 of us that just stuck around, and we were like, well, we're going to spend the night in this. And then all of a sudden, everything, hearing people up and down the stairs and all sorts of stuff like that. Maybe people are like, well, the spirits are like, well, I'm not going to come out and start walking around because there's all these people in the house, So I think if people are being loud and, and things like that, you have to treat spirits like they're people.
Exactly.
You have to be respectful. You don't need to be taunting them, anything like that. Maybe they just might be like, wondering why you're in their house. You know what I mean? And maybe they're hiding from you. Maybe they don't know they're dead. And they're hiding in a closet upstairs because there's 3 people, 10 people that just walked into their house.
Right.
Carrying things that are beeping and making all sorts of noise. They have no idea what it is. They
have no idea. They've never seen a REM pod. So I think that's important because I preach that we have to, like you said, we have to be nice respectful to the spirits. I put it like this: we have to respect the property, the house, the living, the not living. Everything has to be respected. And I even go so far that I explain my equipment to the spirit. If it's one that I don't think was alive, and then I ask them if they'll communicate with me and thank them if they do, and I explain that I'm just there to hear their story. I'm not there to harm them or make them leave. I'm just here to hear their story.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree. And some equipment isn't gonna. Where I think it's funny when somebody will be like, light up the REM pod, and they're like, how the hell do they know what a REM pod is? They don't know what that is. You know what I mean? So you almost have to like describe the box. Hey, that red device that's over there with the blue light on top, can you touch it? That kind of stuff. And then if that's not working, maybe you need to go try something else, or maybe put all the gadgets away and just sit there and just wait and see if. Eventually you might feel them next to you. That's the best, instrument of all is yourself.
Exactly.
To go in one of these places.
And the spirits choose how they communicate with them. I had a spirit one time in a residential case that of all ways to communicate with us, they chose the old flashlight method. We have all the fancy equipment and everything else, and they choose the old flashlight in the attic. And I'm like, they're like, does that bother you? Does that surprise you? I'm like, it don't bother me because I'm thankful they chose to communicate with me. And I was like, I didn't particularly appreciate crawling in this attic, but that's part of it, And and going back a little bit to Project Fear, I actually got to meet them. They're actually good kids. They're kids. I don't care.
They're super nice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In our relationship started out not on a great note because
Really?
well, yeah. Let me explain. Don't hate me yet. And, they were charging a what I considered an unreal amount for a picture, not even an autograph picture, just a picture. And they were actually in the booth beside me at last year at Smoky Mountain Terror, and they were charging like $40 for a picture, and I thought that was kind of not cool. So me being me, I actually called them out on it in front of everybody. I mean, they have a line and everything. I just walk up to them and I'm like, "Hey, this is not cool." Well, but then I actually got to know them. Like that was kind of like I guess that was my hello or whatever. And from that point on, like yeah, they're really nice guys. They were really good to me. Yeah, yeah, and I consider them friends now. So I mean, so it's kind of odd how you can have one opinion going in, and then another opinion coming out. So yeah, yeah,
Well, you can see over my shoulder. There's a Dakota right there, and so and then right next to him is actually Chelsea there, and they signed both of those. I met them at a Paracon out in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and maybe their prices have changed and everything, but we went in there and we got to take pictures with them all, and they all signed their own headshot and gave it to us all, and it was $20 for everything.
well, I
And it
mean,
was amazing. I was like blown away by it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this was a couple of years ago, but just amazing people. They talked to us like they had known you forever. And their
yeah,
mom, one of Dakota's mom was there, and Chelsea's boyfriend at the time, now husband. So, yeah. So,
so the Beyond Normal Paranormal show, yeah, Beyond Normal Radio show said, "Hey, it's our buddy."
hey,
Yeah,
how's it going, guys?
and the thing is, I don't know what Smoky Mountain Terror was paying them. So this might have been the only way for them to cover. So there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. And like I said, I ended up having lunch with them that night and everything, dinner, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, and I mean, like you said, for me, they signed everything. They sent home merchandise with me. My team lead.
That's awesome.
My team is like 15 people. So obviously I have to have people help me. So my team lead, she was there. My wife was there. That was all for my team. Well, my team lead, Jill's son, teenage son, who's my son's best friend, he is a huge fan of Project Fear. So that was kind of the only reason that was the only reason I really cared about the merchandise. Leaving, they were awesome people. But this goes back to what you're saying about how good of people they are. Dakota actually made me take out my phone and we did a video call to Jill's son back home. So
That's really nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah, very down to earth people.
Yeah. And this year I get to meet Jack Osborne, so we'll see how he is.
Really? Oh, yeah. I would really like to meet him.
Well, maybe I'll call you from there and you guys can talk.
That'd be great. I always liked him on Portals to Hell.
Yeah.
When he was on there, and Heather Taddy's another one of my favorites. I've liked them and Ryan Buell. I got to meet him.
I got to meet him too.
Last year, yeah, at the Rock Island Expo. He was there. Just such a nice guy.
Ryan, you still need to give me a date to be on the podcast. He agreed to be on it. He's a busy man. What can I say?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's doing a lot with the museum and everything like that. It seems like, just very, very like he's just such a great guy. I always wanted to meet him because I actually set up my high school group was kind of based on Paranormal State, but it was like for high school instead of college.
Right.
And I got to actually tell him that in person and get a picture with him. And then we actually had some vampire teeth that were laying around on our they were in the plastics and everything like that, but we were handing them out to kids. And Kara Phillip and Amelia Cotter, who were on History Alive with me, and they have their own shows on Paraflix as well. Spooky Boo Boutique is Amelia is on that, and then Into the Obscure caras on that. And so they went up and they actually took 3 of the Dracula teeth and they went up to Ryan Buell and they gave him one. And then they both put the Dracula teeth in their mouth and they took this awesome picture of the 3 of them with the vampire teeth, plastic teeth in their mouth and everything. So later on, we're like at a restaurant and here comes Ryan coming in. And I was like, hey, I saw the picture with the Dracula teeth. And, he just comes over to the table and just talks to us like he's known us forever. Just really, really good guy. You could just tell. And
he is.
He's had so much adversity, that he's overcome. And I think that that's really something that he can be so extremely proud of and be like an influence on other people that need help and need to get through things because he did.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talked about. So, for the people who's catching up on this conversation, the first time I met him was last year at Rock Island, and I almost didn't go through the museum, because there was supposed to be mine and Dan's thing. And I was kind of like, should I go through? So I actually asked Rob. I was like, Rob, should I go through the museum? He's like, are you gonna pay $5,000 to go to the? I was like, no. He's like, I can go to the museum. So I get there, and of course, as soon as I walk in the door, Wade sees me and comes over and hugs me, and Father Bob, and then Wade's like, come here. I'm like, I'm in line listening to these people. I don't think I need to get out of line. And he's like, come here. So he introduces me to Ryan, and then from there. First, we do the picture because that's what you do nowadays. You have to do the selfie. So my first selfie with Ryan is me, Ryan, and Wayne in front of Annabelle, and and then when we had dinner that night back at the hotel, we talked about him overcoming addiction, alcohol, and I grew up in that atmosphere. I'm a child of addiction and alcohol and abuse, so that was it. So we kind of connected over that. But like you said, he is such a good person, and yeah. And paranormal, it was one of the, it was probably definitely one of the earliest shows, but to me, it was one of the most legit, right. Even now, if you take, at least at the beginning, Ghost Hunters was pretty legit, but then, even Jason admits there around season 4, the producers started pushing, so yeah, that's the reason I don't really watch much of the TV shows anymore. For a while, I do watch Paraflex though, because I got friends on there. And what would be good on Paraflex? The Paranormal Addicts podcast. But yeah, I did watch Ghost Brothers for a while because I found them entertaining. I like the fact that they had day jobs, and then they went and investigated. I like that. And then they try to convince me that the EMF reader on your phone is the best EMF reader you could have. I'm like, nah. And that ended that. But yeah, they're still good guys, though. I'm sure that was a producers thing too. But yeah. So
everybody that I've met through Paraflix is just amazing people. Yeah, just everybody from Natalie Jones, and Patty Negri. Like, I mean, just top tier people, and like you go and meet, Natalie and Patty, and they don't act like celebrities. They don't act like, they're better than anybody else. Just, if anything, they're just constantly encouraging everybody that's around them. That's why with like this new show that we're going to be filming, I say, I'm going to be pitching to networks. I hope that Paraflix will take it. You know what I mean? Because that would that's the only place I want to be. You know what I mean? Like it's totally such great people to be involved with. And I'm not just saying that. You've met those people as well. It's not just them, but it's the people that have other shows that are on there. So I've got to meet a lot of those people at conventions. Especially last year at Rock Island, which is coming up again on October 3rd, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to be there again for that, and you'll be there, so it's going to be great.
Participating in the investigation.
Oh, are you really? You're going to do the
Yes,
investigation with Shannon.
I've already paid, already going, and
Awesome.
and I guess after that, I can consider myself actually as seen on Paraflex.
Yeah, because they're going to be recording the whole thing,
They're going to be
and
recording it
then
all
they're going to put
three.
a special together and put it on Paraflix, from what I
Yes,
understand.
yes,
So
that's what they said, and hopefully I can be on the Al Capone team. I don't.
I saw that. In Shannon's, she's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Like
she
to
wouldn't.
talk to.
She wouldn't give me any secrets. She was on the show like 3 weeks ago. She's like, "I'm not giving you any secrets." I'm like, "Then why are you on my show?" No, just kidding. But
No, she was just really nice when I met her as well.
I
So
was like, at least you make at least you're eye candy for the viewers, I guess. But she was an awesome person. That was the first time. Are you gonna be there too? Beyond, I didn't. Okay, I'll come see your booth. You come see mine. How's
yeah,
that?
awesome. Looking forward to it. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to meeting you guys.
But but yeah. So my first introduction was into Paraflex was with Gavin Kelly because we're both from Paducah. So and then my first like really where I could really see the production side of it, I guess, was Josh Morris. Josh is like he's family. He's not even a friend anymore. He's a family at this point. And then and then Eric and blah blah blah. So yeah, I would really like for that's what I would like for my podcast and for my the show that I'm getting ready to start filming. That's what I'd like for it to end if I have my choice. But that's more Natalie's choice than mine. So
Right.
I'll just smile and look pretty. But,
Yeah, well,
but
we're just gonna try to put. I had an idea, and some of the people like Tommy Tombstone and Crossroads of Curiosities that I'm working on with this documentary that I can't wait until that we can like talk about what it is. Let's just say we're doing things with this documentary that I have never done before with paranormal investigating and the history aspect of it. And there is so much potential. I mean, we were just filming Tuesday. We were just filming. So yesterday we were over at location filming, and there was just even more stuff happened where we were like, this is just unbelievable what's going on here. So it's I'm definitely really looking forward to when we can say, hey, this is what it's about. This is where the location is, this and that. But I know Tommy wants to keep things kind of under wraps for right now and everything. But I will tell you, it's going to be like stuff you haven't never seen before. With the other series, it's all based off of how the old Benton County Jail was torn down, and we couldn't save that. We tried. Dwight Stephen, he runs My Haunted Fowler down there, and he's on the board for Fowler Theater, and he was the one that I used to drive my student group down there on a bus, and they would go into the old Benton County Jail, and they would go into the Fowler Theater, and they just loved the places. And and to actually have it be where people are saying, no, don't tear this down. And they're like, no, we want to turn this into a parking lot. And people are like, and they got all these signatures, hundreds and hundreds of signatures and everything. And pretty much like went into the meeting and they just went, well, we don't care what you think, we're tearing it down anyway. And they did. And so without getting too much into it, the new show idea that we're doing is in response to that, because we want to try to make it so that that's not the norm anymore. There's too many of these buildings that are being torn down, and we just definitely want to find ways to help these people out. So out of something negative that happened, we're hoping that there's going to be a positive with this show, and it's not going to be the same 5 people on it all the time. It's going to be different locations all the time, but with different people and things like that may resurface from time to time, depending on what area that we're in. But having people like Tommy Tombstone and Ben Goldman actually they're going to be filming is just amazing, because if you've seen any of their work, it is just fantastic. So I'm just really looking forward to finishing the documentary, and then on November 7th getting into making these episodes and then giving hopefully something quality that we can give to Paraflix, and hopefully it's something that will pass the test, and something that we can stream through their network. I'm definitely hoping that it ends up there.
Yeah, we have a couple of locations here locally that are in danger of being tore down, and I'm doing everything I can to keep that from happening. One I've had the pleasure of investigating, and it was the African American school during segregation, and then it became African American church and stuff, and it's just been left vacant forever, and the church still owns it, and finally they decided, well, we need to sell it or tear it down. And then the other one was one of my favorite locations because it's from my dad's hometown of Carroll, Illinois, and people don't know anything about Carroll. Carroll was actually like a living ghost town, but the history of it there is amazing. And
would you say that the history is number one for you as well?
Yes.
Yes. And the paranormal second.
Yes.
That's the way it is for me as well. That's why we do what we do.
Yes.
It's all about supporting these locations that are trying to stay open, and supporting their. She just put Dwight poured his heart out for that place. Definitely, he definitely did, and you could tell it broke his heart when they tore it down. So it's one of those things with the history aspect of it. It's so important to support the continued restoration and operation efforts of these places. And that's why we're not for profit. When we go, like with my Northwest Indiana paranormal team, when we'll go somewhere, we'll literally, it'll cost, if it costs somebody $20 to go into a place, it's costing me $20 to go as well, if not more, but these places, we don't do things where we're like, and to each their own, there's places that are businesses that do things, but we're not, it's not something that we want to do. So it's all about, we'll say, hey, we got 3 spots left, and we'll put them out, and then we'll meet 3 new people, and they'll be able to come with on a trip. So it's definitely cool to meet new people all the time. That's what I love about the paranormal community. These people really, really care about history, really care about preservation. That's definitely what it's all about.
Yeah, so I like how you said to each his own, because there's obviously no rule book to the paranormal.
Oh yeah, I have plenty of friends that do that do it as a business wise and stuff like that, and that's great too. They're providing operation, or they're providing these possibilities for people to be able to do something that maybe they couldn't afford on their own, but they're actually being able to go to a place that they wouldn't have been able to rent out on their own.
Right.
So they're providing a service, and that's great and everything. I just do it a little bit differently myself.
Me too. I run into what I call, it's kind of my team motto, which we post every on our Facebook page: investigate responsibly. And it's not a rule book. It's just kind of like, could I claim everything's a demon? I could, but no. Could I fake stuff? I could, but should I? It's kind of like a moral compass more than the rule. Because to each his own. I'm not judging anybody, and I don't want to be judged. But okay, so we're over an hour, but I got my 2 signature questions that I got to ask you, and then we'll get you off here. Are you ready?
Sure.
The first one is, how do you think the parapop culture, that's my word, parapop culture, how do you think the parapop culture has affected the field, both positively and negatively?
You talking about like
TV shows,
like the TV shows?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Like, what's positive is like with our kids group. Okay, we'll have like these. We'll show up, and a lot of people that have been watching, they're into Sam and Colby, big time. Which the positive thing is they'll come on to and they'll already know how to use all the equipment because they've been watching Sam and Colby do it. But sometimes these kids are watching shows, not necessarily Sam and Colby, but other shows, and they think that like you only have to sit there for 5 minutes and you're going to get activity, and it's just going to be really, really quick all the time. And so we have to explain to them, Sam and Colby are sitting there for 45 minutes in that room before that happened. Zach Bagans is sitting down the hallway for, an hour and a half in the dark before that happened. Same thing with Project Fear and all that. So sometimes I think maybe they'll produce like a little bit of an unrealistic, way of doing that, which is something that I like a lot about History Alive. From the get-go, they were like, if something doesn't happen, we're going to put that something didn't happen. If something does happen, we're going to show that, but we're not going to show stuff like, oh, I got touched on my back, because you can't show that, you can't prove that, but if we have something on an SLS camera, we have something on a recording, all that kind of stuff went into History Alive that was showing there. So the product that came out of that was, really good stuff, because people could actually witness what we were witnessing and hear what we were hearing. So there is positive and negative to the pop culture shows. But I think it's a lot more positive than negative. The negative is just maybe the unrealistic expectations of being able to, get evidence right away when they come into a particular location.
I agree with that. Only thing I add is on the positive, the knowledge is a positive, and now you can talk about it. Back 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, if I said something, when I was 12 years old, I was actually told at St. Francis Hospital visiting my grandmother, who I called Meemore. She had a stroke, and I was visiting her first time we was out a visitor. And I was at the vending machine, give me a Pepsi Free in the red can, only Pepsi product I've ever liked. Yes, I'm that old. For the people out there that don't know what a Pepsi Free is, Google it. And but anyway, so I was getting Pepsi Free, and this like 60-year-old African American lady that I had never seen in my life decided to walk over to me. She looked like Nell Carter for Give Me a Break. And she decided to walk over to me and tell me that I was the tool of the devil and I was going to hell. And so that was pretty real normal for me at 12 years old, because of my gifts, my abilities, whatever you want to call them. And now, if I'm at Walmart or wherever and I'm wearing my Ken 10 Paranormal shirt or my Waverly Hills shirt or whatever, people stop and they're like, oh, yeah, you mean like Zach and Kobe, or you mean like Ghost Hunters? And then, and I'm like, well, kind of. And then all of a sudden, they tell me about, oh, my grandmother's house, this always happened, so that's a big positive. And
it's a lot more mainstream now.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good term, mainstream. And then the other thing, adding to the unrealistic expectations, because yes, the other thing is people have to realize not everything's a demon. To me, that's the two negative from the parapop culture.
Yes. Yeah, it's, and we always make sure that, when we're, with the kids group and stuff like that we're teaching them, the correct way, at least the correct way, our version to do it. What I love most about the student group is, though, above everything else, is that these kids are from all walks of life. So you have a football player and a cheerleader and a Dungeons and Dragons club and a band member. And these people are all hanging out with each other with a common interest. And they may have never talked to each other ever before. But they're doing that, and they're talking to each other because they all like the paranormal. So sometimes people are making friends with somebody, that they never would have talked to before if it wasn't for joining the club. So I really, that's my main thing that I like the best about it.
That's actually excellent. And the last question is, the last formal question anyway, what is your one piece of advice to somebody just starting out in the paranormal field?
Well, definitely, be respectful of everything. When it comes down to this, don't be breaking into places, don't be trespassing. I've heard so many stories. Oh, you ever been here? Oh, we used to sneak in there and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we'll go to these places and there's so much stuff just smashed, and things like that. People are being disrespectful about it, but if you're going to do something, like you're going to go there and you're going to try to get like results and everything, you have to give back as well. This year I wrote a grant for our kids club, and it was to to get them some metal detectors, so they actually do metal detecting now as part of the club. But the most important thing is we got 2 kits to clean veterans' headstones. So what we're doing now is we're teaching high school kids how to clean veterans' graves the proper way. And a lot of the ones that we're doing in Gary, Indiana. There's a project that we're doing there. You have to take your time with toothbrush and distilled water and everything like that. So we're teaching them how to do it without damaging anything and waxing it when it's done and everything. There's over 500 of them, and we're 27 in after 1 year. But you know what? We're going to keep doing it here and there. We're going to keep going, a couple here, a couple there, this and that. And I'm hoping that eventually we'll be able to do it. But it's teaching the kids that it's so much more than ghost hunting, that it's, about the history and the people that came before us and showing them respect as well. So I think it's very important to teach people that are up and coming the proper way, the respectful way, and to give back at the same time if you're expecting to receive.
Okay. I respect that a lot. I'm actually a veteran myself, so.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah. So I definitely, a lot of respect for that. So, okay. So is there anything we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
Just upcoming events that we're doing. We're going to be at ISS Con in Rockville, Indiana on Saturday. We'll have a booth in the Billy Creek Village there, which is just amazing places. So we're looking forward to seeing old friends and connecting with some new ones. Then we're going to do a private thing with the Crown Point Masonic Lodge on the 5th. 9/26, September 26th. I'm working with you. I'm sure you know him, Chris Fleming.
Yep.
Chris Fleming and Diet Renee and Neil Gibbons, who owns Graveside Paranormal, and he runs that. He set up a thing. It's called Watsika Beyond the Veil, and myself and Chris and Neil are actually going to lead a ghost hunt inside of the famous Roth House in Watsika, where the first spiritual possession took place that was recorded. It's just an amazing story there. And there's still some tickets that are available for that. That's the tier 2 one, but they also have the tier 1 level as well. So if you go to Graveside Paranormal, you'll actually be able to see how you can get a ticket for there to not only do the Roth House, but to do the courthouse and jail, the Iroquois County one that's in there. And you can meet Chris Fleming, and you can listen to him speak and everything like that. So that's going to be really cool. That's on the 26th of September. Rock Island Roadhouse will be on the 3rd. We'll be there. We have a sold-out Bridges Scoreboard bus tour and pub crawl that we're doing. All 50 tickets. It's raising money for a good cause. But all 50 tickets went in less than 24 hours for that. So that was amazing. We're going to be at Pagan Pride Day on October 17th in Crown Point. And then Crawfordsville, Indiana Paranormal Convention. Both days we will be there. October 24th and 25th. In the middle of the night, we're going over to Ashmore Estates. So that'll be really cool. We'll get to see Robin Terry over there. Awesome individual there. Robin Terry's just good people. I love running into him at all these conventions. He's just always got something really funny to say. He's just a really, really good guy. But we're going to do that, a midnight investigation in the middle of that. And then we'll start filming the new series on the 7th of November. And then we're going with Silent Veil Paranormal to the Hannah House in Indianapolis on the 14th. So definitely really, really extremely busy over the next couple months. Usually when I find an open space, I just plug an event in it. And then the rest of the time I'm usually working, side jobs and things like that. To pay for my travel expenses, because it seems like I'm always leaving to go somewhere. So, but I like to be busy. I love my job. After 24 years, I still look forward to going to work every day. And that's when you know that you're doing the right thing, what you're supposed to be doing, when you still look forward to going to work. So, exactly. all this stuff together. It just keeps me a busy person. But I love my groups and everybody that's involved with them and the groups that we associate with. And I love the paranormal community. I'm looking forward to getting more and more involved each year, and looking forward to the stuff that we have on the horizon. It's going to be amazing.
And more to Octagon Horror. So we tell everybody how they can, if they want to follow you on your socials and all that stuff, where to follow you.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So I just created a TikTok. I'm a little old, but I was able to figure it out. And every day I'm like, oh wow, you can do that with that. Oh wow, you can do that with that. That kind of stuff. So I'm finding my way around there and everything. But the main one that I use is Facebook and Instagram. If you want to follow me on any of those things, please do so. You could follow Northwest Indiana Paranormal if you want to try to see if you could find something that you could come and investigate with us. We've got a lot on the agenda. We're actually trying to become completely non-profit organization is what we're working towards, to support animals and veterans at the same time as preservation. So that's something that I want to work towards as well. So you find me on social media, and feel free to follow.
All right. Pete, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We truly appreciate you taking your time to be with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Ken.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to hanging out a little bit at Rock Island. I definitely consider you part of our group now. So, and then we'll work on getting you down here to investigate Octagon Hall.
This sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for everybody who joined us for another episode of Paranormal Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, follow, subscribe, and share. You can find Paranormal Addicts on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podbean, and wherever you podcast. My book, Don't Buy Generic Batteries, and It's Probably Not a Demon, is available on Amazon. Or if you see me at events, which I have a lot too, you can actually get an autographed copy for $10, which is cheaper than Amazon. If you're interested in having me at your event, whether it be a Paracon, your podcast, or whatever, find me on social media. Until next time, live paranormal and live courteous. And remember, hunt ghosts, not drama.